live.
Boy, am I glad to see you. And your old lady. And the donkey you rode in on. I'm the manful handful. The wop at the bop. The guinea. With the skinny. The Guido in the Speedo. The Greaser who's a what? Lady pleaser. The uncrowned king. The high priest from the Church of Rock and Roll on the east side of Pittsfield, Pennsylvania. And I want to touch you. And while I'm at it, I want to thank y'all for tuning in with us. Somebody said they wanted me to announce all my names. Harry, would it be okay if I announced all my names?
Sure, but make it quick.
Norman, Roosevelt, Aloysius, Nicodemus, Amadeus, Valentino, Giovanni, Romeo, Bruno, Raphael, Luciana, Luigi, Nardini. Coming to you from the east side of Pittsfield, Pennsylvania. Tom, are you getting that slobber? You picking that up? Good. That lets them know this shit's live, baby. Because, you know, if we would doctor this shit up, first thing we do, we get rid of the slobber and the snot and everything else. But then what the hell will we have left? What will we be left with? Nothing! Our meat! Hey, before we do anything, what I want to say is, tonight is the first night of a threefer for my dear knucklehead friend, Ronald Moonborg Essa. Cheryl Renovato, great guitar player, great lady, put together a benefit, a virtual. Virtual sounds religious to me when I hear that word virtual. I always think of that I should, excuse me, I just burped while I was talking. I always want to cross my hands like this when I heard the word virtual. I don't even know why. But they're having a virtual, Cheryl's having, and her buddy, and once again, I forget this guy's name. I promise I won't forget his name next time I mention this shit. They put together a show to benefit Mooney. And specifically to benefit Moondogs, which is a joint I started working, I think, in 1989. I really didn't know him then. Although Harry had met him when he was the manager of Graffiti. I think Harry snuck in there after hours and someone told him that this blonde bomber was the manager. And Harry went up to him and said, "Hey, I'm a loser and I need a drink." And Moondog, this is no bullshit, Tom, and Moondog went back, stuck his hand under the thing and slipped Harry a cold one.
Yes, he did.
You know, a cold one and a rolled one. I've always thought, you know, do you guys ever hear that song I wrote years ago, A Cold One and a Rolled One? But anyway, I met him the first time we played there, and I started feeling this guy. I says, you know what, this son of a bitch is all right. I could hang with this gentleman. And through the years, we've become like this here, he and I. But Cheryl's doing his show tonight, and it starts the same time as we're starting here. And I love that nutbag so much that I want to promote what they're doing for him and with him. And so it's tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 nights in a row for Mooney. Cheryl has this virtual benefit. A lot of folks are on it. All the locals, but peppered in are folks from all around the planet Earth. You guys might know about the planet Earth, but I'm talking about Earth. E-A-R-F. Tom, Earth. That's the planet I live on. You sons of bitches are on Earth. Go ahead. I'm on Earth. But Anna Popovich from way across the drink, she's on it.
Yeah.
Strong.
Oh, yeah.
Most guys I know love a strong-looking lady.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Castro from all the way out in Frisco is on it. I think Bernard Allison,
Probably.
son of Luther, from I think he's Michigan or Wisconsin. So it's Linwood Birchwood, Selwyn Birchwood from FLA. He's on it. So I think we got. What I'm trying to point out is there's people from all. How about this? Derek Trucks and his old lady, Susan Tedeschi. How you doing? Oh! Couple of the most high-level music makers right here in the United States of America. They're on it. And here's a little story I just got to stick in your ear real quick. Moondog and June Dog were on vacation, I think back in the early 90s. And I think they were in FLA or Georgia or somewhere. And they just went into some shithole. And there was a 14-year-old boy playing the living crap out of some guitar. Spanking some plank, okay? Bang! Who'd this kid happen to be? A young Derek Trucks. All teenaged and glorious. And Mooney said, I want that kid to play at my shithole. And so it came to pass. This precious child came to our wonderful city and started putting on what we call a show. And Susan Tedeschi, who comes from the New England area, I don't think at the time they knew one another. But they had both, she had also played Mooney's as a young Derek did. And eventually those two met each other. And I don't know, they might have met at Mooney's, I don't know. Could have been. But not. They've been married for years and have a high-level, world-class, one of the best musical organizations in the world. The two of them. They put the meat where? On the table. Where the meat belongs. Right on the table. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is, if you're into real music, the high-level shit, the shit up here, high-level. If you're into that music, Moondogs has been shoveling it in our direction all these years. Mooney ran the Blues Festival for 21 years. He used us, we played on it almost every year. Not as, with my band, what he would do, he would hire us to make a presentation. We've made presentations of singers. We worked with the fine lady, Sherry Richards. And I don't know if you guys know this about Sherry Richards, but Sherry Richards likes hairy bottoms. And I know right now, she heard me saying that. You know what Sherry's doing? She's going like this here. Ha, 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 ha. The bitch laughs like a drunken sailor. She does. She does. And she's fantastic. And she likes hairy bottoms. But we've worked with guitar players. We've had Stutzo up. We had the late, great, amazing, world-class Glenn Pavone. All kinds of different folks, different presentations throughout the years. And we would back them up. And I remember McKeag, that little Mick, but this tall, beautiful, big lips on him. Did you ever see McKeag's lips?
Not lately.
He used to keep a mustache on so you wouldn't see how beautiful they were.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was overwhelmed that God gave him the prettiest lips, Tom. I always call them sugar lips. His old lady don't seem to mind when I do it. She never says anything about it anyway. She's a good person. And she must be a good person. She's been with him quite some time. But anyway, the whole point of this bullshit is the Moondog benefit. What we need, Mooney needs a new roof. You know, they used to say, baby needs a new pair of shoes. Well, Mooney needs a new roof on the shithole. And once he has that roof, then we're good. Because we'll go from there. I know what that's like because I had to put a roof on this brick monstrosity a few years back. you know, they don't do that shit for free. But once it's on there, then you can do whatever you want. So I think that's the first thing he's going to do as things work out and develop here. And before I say anything else, I want to say thank you to Cheryl for being a class act and for spending her important and precious time on something that benefits a very special friend of mine and also benefits all the music people. She's a classy lady. Me, I'm an inch. I'm a nickel rocket pimp. I'm a stone jag. I'm a one-car funeral over here. I wasn't good when times was good. I love saying shit like that. And then I worked down from there. You know what I mean? Another thing I want to say before I bust into the classic, the already classic. Do you remember that one time I get off on these tangents, but I wrote the song. I wrote a song one day, and I forget what's, Harry, you guys might remember what it is. I wrote a song, I think on a Thursday night, played it on a Friday, and right after the first time we played it, strange as it seems, this particular number became a white trash classic. The first time it was performed. It might, I don't know, was that Why Think When You Can Drink?
Maybe that might have been it.
Might have been what that.
Or Roaches and Butts.
Roaches and Butts, also another white trash classic. You know, as people say, who wrote what Roaches and Butts? And I say, who else could have? You know what I mean? Who else would write a Roaches and Butts? Roaches and Butts, it's all I have left to smoke. Roaches and Butts, to get me through the night.
Yeah.
Roaches and Butts, if I need a choke or a toke. Roaches and Butts, the story of my sorry ass life. Now get over here, you sons of bitches. I'll give you a smack right on your shit can. Bang! That's one! I got a buddy. A loser buddy. My friend Loser Bob. I haven't gotten to talk to him, but I just heard that he needs a little kiss on the cheek from his good friend Nipples T. Clown, who happens to live inside me. And sometimes I can't. Sometimes Nipples just comes busting out, and he's just real funny and he's real crazy. I never ever let Nipples the Clown come out in front of my niece Rena. You know why?
What?
She's terribly afraid of clowns.
Oh.
And I never let Nipples the Clown out among my nieces and nephews that know me as Uncle Pickles. Have I said too much? But I want to blow a couple kisses. And I am one kiss blowing some bitch from these sides. So here's a couple kisses blown to my friend Loser Bob. And I harken back to the night in Cleveland when we were partying like animals. When we were partying like young guys. And Bob passed out. And his beautiful wife Pam said, "Oh, don't worry. It's just Bob passing out." And we're like, "What the?" She's a nurse and she had it like this, under control. And you know what she said? She looked at the rest of us losers and she said, "Party on." And so we did. And so it came to pass. We saw the sun come up. Harry's here. Tom's here. And we have a new participant working with us. Came in from upstate. I'm not sure if she rode down on a reindeer. They have reindeer up there, don't they, Tom?
I think so.
I think they have. Well, they got a couple. They must. But she came in with Tom, a friend of ours named Rochelle. She's working with us and helping. Know what she's helping us do? She's a visual brazier to what we do. She's giving us a lift and the support that we need to be more than the losers we are left to our own sorry devices. We screw things up. We're not. There's a lot of things. There's some things we can do. There's some things we can do at an extremely high level. But there's some shit we don't know nothing about. And we're glad to have her with us today. And it's fun to have new life in the shack. Let me hit, it ain't a party till you get here, because I'll come over there. I wrote this song just for you hunchers. And you munchers. And you late for lunchers. And especially for all you panties in a bunchers. Remember they used to say, did I still say that, Tom? Don't get your panties in a bunch?
Sometimes.
You ever say it? Not really. It's not Tom. Harry, have you ever said it?
No.
Have it ever been said in front of you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've heard it.
You've heard it said, right?
Oh,
I've
sure.
heard it. Never used it.
It ain't just me talking stupid shit. Hey, let me wipe the snot from my snout.
Somebody wants to know if there's going to be a silent auction for the green sippy cup.
I probably know who that is.
Yeah, you probably do.
I know that guy. And let me tell you about that guy. He's trouble. And let me tell you one more thing about that guy. You know, on
John
St.
Kaczynski.
I know who it was. I didn't need to hear it.
Yeah.
John, let me tell you something about him. That on St. Patrick's Day, all of us, we were all Irish that day.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
But John, on St. Patrick's Day, he was still Polish. His joke, not mine. Wait a minute, I got the wrong sound on here. It sounded like there was some kind of synthesizer. One thing I don't like is synthesizers and things like this. Things of this nature, they're too much for me. They have too many options. They do this and they do that, and strings, and then you mix that with this. I'm not into that shit. That ain't me. Hey, there's other guys, they look good like that. Me, I don't look good in it. I like it when the keyboard sounds like a porno movie.
Yeah.
Remember, like in the 70s, when all porno movies had an organ and a drummer and maybe a sax, or like a hollow body guitar playing octaves like Wes Montgomery and shit like that. Porno music, you know what I mean? Honest American things that we can all celebrate. The sound of a ass getting smacked and a cigarette being smoked. Remember when people smoked on TV, man? How effing great was that?
Freedoms.
It was fantastic. Dean Martin, he'd come out on stage like this here, drink in one hand, cigarette in another. Jumping, pimps and hoes, but there's something missing till you show. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You make my blues disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. Lights are low. Bands play, dressed to kill, people swing. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You make my blues disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. It ain't a party till you get here. What? How you doing? spilling out into the parking lot. Inside the joint, it's too damn hot. But it ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get churned up. The joint come alive. You make my blue disappear. And ain't a party till you get here. I hope I made myself perfectly clear. And ain't a party till you get here. It ain't a party till you get here. Harry Bottoms whipped some applause on an old bag of meat, a little saggy in his back seat. And you know what? There's nothing I like more than the sound of two hands clapping. I live for that shit. There's nothing that means that much to me in my life. I've lived, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not too proud to say it. How much I love to be in a room full of eaters, drinkers, smokers, hunchers, munchers, all you sons of bitches. And I love to perform. And then when we do a song that maybe touches you, and then you say, you know what, let me give him a little something. And you go like this here. You know what I do? Chub. That's what I do. At the sound of it, just the sound of applause really snaps my girdle. I should have loosened my girdle up before the camera started, but now I'm gonna have to live with this the whole show. It's just really constricting. Ooh. Hey, I mentioned Mooney, who I love too much. I mentioned my friend Loser Bob, who I love too much. Those are my two buddies. Those are the guys. If I was in jail, which I've never been in jail, in Pennsylvania. Shut up. You know, the crazy thing, I'll just say this one thing. The last time I was in jail, there were 4 of us that all went to jail together. I'm the only one that's still alive. What do you think of that? I don't even know why I put that meat on the table. Maybe I said too much. Or is that possible? You know, I've been messing with this song lately that I wrote a few years back. And I wrote it, I think I wrote it because I was trying to glorify my old man. Because it seems like, you know, when you're young, you write songs about hunching and, you know, all that bullshit. And that's great. And it's fun and it's beautiful. And there's some great songs that are about nothing but being young and wild and beautiful and all that shit. But as you get, after you've written those, what's next? What comes to life? Well, for me, I came to a point where I wanted to talk about my folks because that was a big deal to me. And I remembered when I was a kid, my old man used to take us down to the river on a Sunday. It was the only day he was around. My old man was never, ever available for anything except for a few hours on a Sunday. Like an old man is supposed to be at that time. You know, my mother raised us, and that was that. My father wasn't there. He was working or relieving the pressure of work. With a couple of these. I told you, my father was a caseworker. If you opened a case of beer, believe me, he'd work on it. But I wanted to talk about the time, you know, like he used to take us to football games every once in a while, or take us to baseball games. And sometimes, once we got old enough that we didn't have to sit with him, he didn't want us sitting with him because he wanted to be with his buddies so they could. I told you about his buddy that used to put the wine in that skin bag at the Steeler games. It was called a Geagle. And he said, my dad said the more drunk he got, he could take that skin bag and he'd put it up and he'd go, hit me! And like about 8 feet away, a guy would open his mouth He says this old Dago would take the skin bag and he'd squeeze it, and the wine would go straight out and it would land in somebody's mouth directly. And he was so proud of hanging with that gang because he thought, I'm with the guys. I'm with the right guys. We booze. It was fantastic. My dad would come home from a football game. His face would be red as a beet, my mother would say. And then she'd say, Art, you're lit. And he'd go, my dad would go like this here. He never said, no, I'm not. He never said, don't yell at me. He'd just go, he was lit. And he was right where he wanted to be. And we, in our own way, idolized him. And this song is like an acknowledgement of his presence in our lives. Very steady, always the same. There. I don't know how else to say it. He wasn't like a guy that would tell you what he thought. He wasn't a guy that would tell you what was right and what was wrong. He'd wait for you to screw up. And then he'd be there and not even tell you, I knew you were going to screw. He didn't say shit like that. He knew that screwing up was the road to manhood. That's how men become men. You become a man because you made all the mistakes. But he knew that his job was just to be there and have someone to look up to and say, he still loves me, even though I'm a screw up, or even though I do stupid shit. And this song is kind of like an acknowledgement of that relationship. And Tom pulled it out. Tom released it as a single. And I think it was very favorably looked upon by our viewing audience. And I just thought, oh my heavens. Because it sat on the shelf for 7 or 8 years. I'm going to play it again, and I'm hoping I play it better than I did the first time, which is the one Tom released. And I just was really glad that people got a chance to hear it. And then also, now it lives on its own at this internet destination, what it might be called YouTube. Sorry. I love when I do that. It lives on YouTube, and it's called Monongahela. And we're going to stick it in your ear. Shortly after that, I'm going to bring up a dear friend of mine. In fact, he's the proprietor of The Hideaway, which we're going to do that at 10 today. Let me see if I can get this guitar strapped in right. There we go. Okay. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. You see this beautiful hunk of wood? You know where I got it? It was given to me by Harold Gurley Bottoms. You know why he gave it to me? Because I'm so effed up, so weird. I refused to buy one. I was doing acoustic gigs with I didn't even have acoustic guitars. I would just come out with these pieces of junk that I had in my basement. And this went on for 10 years, and they kept waiting for me to buy one, and I never did because I'm just not normal. And he said, here, take this. Now you have one. And he forced it upon me. And you know what he did? He made me more right than I could have been on my own because I'm too much of a nutbag. And now he's laughing at me. We're going to do Monongahela for you guys. See what you think of it. My old man would gather us up, and we all walked over these tracks down to the muddy water. We'd go fishing for carp and cat. The big kids would help their little ones. The old man just watched over us all. He would be right there. One of us would fall. down by the water. We put our feet in, the sons and daughters, just working class kids. We didn't know it was a blessing. We was learning life lessons from hell to hallelujah. Here on the muddy banks of the Monongahela. We'd all meet down by the river on Friday night after the high school football games. Everybody kicking back, throwing logs on a fire, sipping moonshine, man, those were some days. Playing our guitars under the stars. We was all from the same neighborhood, and if you needed a friend, chances of finding one was good. Down by the water, we'll put our feet in, the sons and daughters was growing up quick. We didn't know it was a blessing. We was learning life lessons from hell to hallelujah. Here on the muddy banks of the Monongahela. It's where I caught my first fish, got my first kiss, did some things I regret, like that first cigarette. Yeah, I still remember the time in December. We didn't think about it twice before we jumped into that water, cold as ice. Well, so many years have come and gone, and we're still walking over these tracks. Now just the smell of that muddy water, it gets me remembering my old man. Now my kids bring their little ones, and as I'm watching over them all, I see that big river rolling by, and there's so much I recall. Down by the water, they'll put their feet in, daughters growing up quick. Now I know it's a blessing how they learn their life lessons from hell to hallelujah. Time I gave thanks to these muddy, muddy banks of the Monongahela. Of the Monongahela. Oh, how you doing? The Monongahela. You know, we have three. The Mon, the Allegheny, and the High. But we also got the Youghiogheny. We used to play it every August down at Birdie's Landing. Right down by McKeesport for my buddy Bobby Betters. We'd do a big party there every August, and we get a bunch of nice boaters and bikers. Great white trash crowd. Really good people. Good-hearted working class hunchers. And we get down there and get ripped. And what we would do, we would go out on a boat before we'd play. And then what we would do, we would enjoy the buoyancy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever said the word buoyancy before in my life, but I said it now. It rolled right out of my face. We'd enjoy the buoyancy as we smoked the joint before the show. You know,
It's very nautical.
it was very nautical of us. It was, Harry. And you musicians out there, you all know about the joint before the show, right? What you do, you get the guys together. You get the crew too. You get everybody in. You know, it's your people. and then you like, and you tune up the band. You know, Higgy tunes up the instruments, but who tunes up the band? We would tune up together, and then when we would walk out to play, you know, I remember Vinny told me he was playing for some other guy that works in town here, and he told Vinny, he says, I don't want you smoking that shit before we play. He says, I want you to be on the same page as the rest of us. And Vinny said, well, how's about you guys getting on the same page as me? We all tune up. He says, that didn't go over real big. I don't want to say the guy's name who...
This was
but
who I think it is.
But you can imagine. You can imagine who it is. I'm getting ready to call my boy. Nah, right as I'm ready to call him, what's he do?
He leaves.
I don't think he left. I think he vamoose. Do you know the word vamoose? There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to do at this particular moment in time on Norman Nardini's show number 6. Shicks. I'm going to put an H in it. Shicks. Let me hear you guys say it. Say it at home to your old lady. Look at her and go like this. Shicks. Shicks. That's a number I made up. It comes right after 5. Shicks and then 7. You know that number? I know it now too. I'd like to bring up Mr. Harold J. Gurley Bontonimo. That's his name when the circus is in town. You know, and let me tell you this. Harry and I had some conversations this week. We spoke. And we spoke about a friend of Harry's who we're hoping, I don't think he brought him with him this time, but I backed him into a corner in the garage where we hang. I got him in the corner and I cornered him in, you know, with all this meat. And I looked at me and I says, I want you to bring your friend Danny to the Norman show. And he looked at me and he just went, you're making that up. I says, that's no bullshit, man. I want to see Danny. I want him to come with us. I want him to be a part of the show. And he isn't here today. And I don't want to tell you any more about Danny than I already have. But he will be coming to the show. And when you meet this little prick, you're going to love him as much as me. Harold J. Bottoms, would you please come on to the...
I didn't please.
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hooves together.
The cloven hooves.
Put your cloven hooves together. You know what it sounds like when your cloven hooves go together? Watch. I'll show you what it sounds like. Oh, my old bag of meat. Watch. Because it sounds like it's here. That's what applause sounds like when everybody in the audience doesn't have hands. They just have hooves. Let me hear you say the word hooves.
Play a lot of sheep ranches lately. That's how you got the name Daddy, right?
I was not a farm child, but I'd have been a great one. Harry's here. I had some songs I wanted to play. I think we're going to start off with an old Norman song that I wrote in 1978. I don't know what the hell you were doing in 78. You know what I was doing? Mm-hmm. I was dragging my tight ass across stage after stage after stage, one shithole after the other, trying to be somebody, trying to put the power and the glory of rock and roll into the souls and hearts of the white trash of America. And I think, you know what I think I did? I think I touched some folks. And this particular number has lived on. What's 1978? What the hell? How many years ago is that?
Too long.
Anybody have any?
Me. No.
Michelle, how many years ago was 1970? You, Jesus Christ!
43, maybe?
Something
Sounds
like
good.
42
Go
or
ahead.
43.
43 sounds right.
Okay.
You want mathematicians? Go to mathematics.
I'm not surrounded by math. I changed that word just now. It's a new word.
What?
MAF. Mathematicians.
How many F's you got in that alphabet?
2.
2.
F me. Hey,
Jeez. What?
here's a sound that I love. When I'm gone, and as I'm being dropped into the depths of hell, this is the sound that I'll hear.
Oh, what a tiny harp.
Tiny. I used to have a friend named Tiny. Passed on a few years ago. Biker. Went to high school together. Real good man. Real good person.
I had an uncle named Tiny.
He was the first guy that used to ship.
He was a bar owner.
Harry's Uncle Tiny, when Harry was just 6 or 7 years old, a precious white trash child out of the trailer.
Yeah.
Right out the park. He would go to Uncle Tiny's bar.
Yeah.
And when Harry's father wasn't looking, Uncle Tiny would take a shot glass, put a little something in it, and
It was VO.
VO.
Oh, yeah. It was his prime bottle. He kept under the bar.
And he would teach Harry to respect a little here and there. How about Uncle Tiny? Does anybody in our audience, viewing audience tonight, have an Uncle Tiny that they can tell us about? A story as great as the story of a 6, 7-year-old Harry Bottoms getting a little for himself. Okay. Freddy, guys. And I wrote, this is one of the first songs I ever wrote by myself. I used to write with Frank a lot in the, before this time. And when I wrote this, I was just mimicking all those weird Bill Haley and what's that kid from Texas? Buddy Holly. They would write them songs that were just comical and whimsical and
Cute.
not even cute.
Yeah.
But they what they were was instant, simple, easy to feel, and it's beginning of rock and roll, and that shit sticks to my ribs. 2, 3, E. How you doing? Are you ready? Ready, Freddy? To go uptown and rock and roll. Are you ready? Ready, Freddy? Tell me what are you waiting for? She got you looking right and it's out of sight, out of control. Are you ready? Ready, Freddy? To go uptown and see your baby. She just said it, Freddy. Brother, I don't mean maybe. Your girl's looking alright and she's out of sight, out of control. And then you get into the back seat, lip service, and you're moving on down the road. And when you pull into a stride street, give her a header. Gotta get it up, you gotta go, man, go. Go! Are you ready? Ready, Freddy? To go uptown and rock and roll. Are you ready? Ready, Freddy? Tell me what are you waiting for? Your girl's looking alright and she's out of sight, out of control. You got your look down right and it's out of sight, out of control. Out of control. Out of control. Out of control. I'm gonna lick it up. set, go man go. Ready, 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 Freddy. 1978. Wow. Crazy, right? And still shit talking. Old bag of meat like me. Man, did I ever tell you about the time that my friend's buddy's father caught me lighting farts? You know about that, right?
I heard rumors and stories.
I think we were in 7th or 8th grade. And me and this other dago, a couple of white guys, we're staying at my buddy's house. Like on the weekend, you know, in your 7th, 8th grade. Just glad to be out of your parents' house, you know. Could smoke maybe a couple hits from a ciggy. It's hard for me to sneak ciggies from my mother. She had a gifted snifter on her. She could smell a cigarette from a country mile. But we were at my buddy's house. And you know how, like, when you have, I guess they call them sleepovers now. But when you do that, you know how the kids, it gives them a chance to be kids and be kids together. How great that is. So it was all us young guys. And they were all like normal, healthy children. And I was me. I mean, what are you going to do? So, you know, my buddy's father, whose name was Fagin the Viper. That's what he called himself. I idolized this man. His son would used to call him Fagin. F-A-G-A-N, Fagin the Viper. So anyway, so we're down there laughing and talking bullshit and telling lies, and I'm making up stories. Nothing's changed, right? So what I started doing, like, it'd be real dark. We'd shut out all the lights, and I would say, "Hey, watch this," and I'd light a match and light a fart and blow out some blue smoke about maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet, real quick. Fantastic work, right? So we're doing it. Do that again. I said, well, wait till I can generate this. You know, you need an energy source to light a fart. You know, you just don't walk in a room and do it. You gotta. It's like making love. When that magic moment comes, it's of the moment.
It's so different and so new.
So different and so new, and it's of this special moment. So anyway, it's dark, and I'm going, all right, I think it's ready. We're getting ready. Everybody's being real quiet. I'm waiting for the moment, for the blaze. Norman's gonna let one go, and guess what happens? As soon as I felt it, bang! I lit it up, and I hit it, and it flamed out right in the dark, and it glowed so wonderfully. And then about a second after it went to dust, the light switch come on. And my buddy's father, Fagin the Viper, goes, "Very nice, Norman." And I'm like, oh, shit. We're all trying not to laugh. Oh, and it was the most fantastic moment of 7th or 8th grade. You know, it was one of them times when you got busted being you, and you think, when you're that young, you think parents don't know nothing. You think they don't know, or like Fagin the Viper didn't know one of his buddies that would light farts when he was in 7th or 8th grade. But it was, you know, just fantastic. Speaking of farts, did you ever Dutch oven your old lady? You know what that is? You know what a Dutch oven is? I'll tell you what a Dutch oven is. Dutch oven is when you're with your old lady and you're laying in bed. And you know you're going to let one go. And you know it's going to be ripe and rich. And so what you do, as devious as you might be, You wait for that moment right before the burst. And then what you do is you take the blanket and you put it over her head and you hold her under the covers with you, and then you let it go. And then she can't escape. And now she is captured in what I would like to call the Dutch oven. That's a power move. And if she can stand up to that shit, that bitch is old lady material. I don't care what anybody says. Or if you give her a hot shot. You know about now the hot shot is a thing, it's a terrible thing that's happening with hard drugs and all that shit. But before that, it was a power move of mine, the hot shot. And that was just when you knew you were going to burst. You just move in real close and on her leg or something and just let it go skin to skin. I call that the hot shot. Wow. Power move. Bang. It's good to be a guy. All right, let's play a song. Maybe we should talk about farts a little bit more later, because I have a few other key, wonderful little ditties. What else? I had a song picked out, H.
Oh.
Oh.
Come back, please.
This one I wrote when I was in my Willie Nelson phase of life. The Willie Nelson phase came after the, I can't remember which phase it was. I was studying Johnny Winter. How about Johnny Winter? Wasn't he something? I remember when we opened for Johnny Winter.
Yeah.
You know, we're at Graffiti.
Yeah.
Remember that some bitch was giving me some trouble up?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, it was 20, 30 years ago, I remember she was yelling shit at me. Yeah, Johnny Winter! I said, shut the...
I remember that. I remember that gig.
Yeah, it was a great gig. It was a great night.
This guy's got two guys carried Johnny to the stage.
Yeah, it was towards the end of his career. I saw Johnny at the, I think it was Three River Stadium, opening for Gigi. I'm not sure what. It might have been Aerosmith. But I know I saw Johnny somewhere else. But that was the only time I ever got a chance to play on a show with him. Hey, it's a little thing called Playing in a Rock and Roll Band. And there's young guys now. Young little monkeys. And they got their guitars and their amps and their cool haircuts and nice clothes. Or rags of their choice. But you know what's not quite there? That was there when we were young? Effing gigs. When we were young, there were gigs. Tom, you remember? Pool parties, house parties,
Oh my, yes.
dances,
Yep.
fraternity parties. Of course, you could go down to a fraternity party down Oakland. We used to walk from Swissville to Oakland. Me and the B-man, we'd walk from Swissville to Oakland, and we'd go to the fraternity houses and give them our band's card. And that's one of the ways we got gigs, and they would call us, and then we would play these frat parties. And I'm going to tell you a little story a little bit later today about my buddy Moon.
Oh yeah.
You know Moon,
I know
how
Moon.
fantastic he is. I'll tell you a story that's just simply unbelievable. But anyway, this is a song I wrote when I was in my Willie Nelson phase. And when I say that phase, that means at the time I was studying all things Willie. I was studying all the songs that he had written. More so after he went back to Texas after being in Nashville. I kind of passed over that, except for Quasi.
Mm-hmm.
You know that song, Quasi? Quazy. Quasi. If Elmer Fudd sang it, that's how he'd sing it.
I love it. Yeah, it was good.
You know, Patsy Cline sung it. Remember that bitch? That bitch was clean. Let's hit this shit. It's called Playing in a Rock and Roll Band, and we'd like to send it out to all the young stiffies that wish they had a gig, that wish they could get in the goddamn truck and drive to Cleve. And then after Cleve, Teton, Ohio. And then slip up to Detroit, and then up to Flint, and then maybe come back home for a couple days, and then shoot out to Cowtown, and then down to Ginganati, and then down into Kentucky. But there ain't no gigs no more. And then there was no gigs before this. I mean, there wasn't gigs like, there's gigs, but not like when we was young. There was gigs everywhere when we was young. And rock and roll, it was the language. of our culture. I say important shit sometimes. And I have to stop myself. And I say, you better stop talking or you might say something else important and people will get the wrong impression that you're trying to act like you know shit.
Well, you're smart.
I'm smart! I forget how the hell this song starts.
So do I.
I'm at the stage in life when I got so many goddamn songs and I'm always writing. I'm writing a new one right now. It's called I'm writing a new one right now. It's called In the Here and Now. In the here and now, I'm living large. In the here and now, I'm the man in charge. What used to be cool is no longer in style. What's up ahead won't be here for a while. It's all about the moment anyhow. So I'm living what? Say it.
Large.
In the here and now.
Oh, in here now. Oh,
He got stuck on lodge.
Large.
Lodge is a great word.
Large.
I've gotten stuck on that. I wish I was more lodge. If I was taller,
You used to be.
I was taller, but I mean, I was never tall like a regular European. I was always a little dago. You know, when I was 18, I looked like I was 12. I looked like a little monkey. And the tall guys got all the chicks. But when we were young, it was me and the bead man. We hung out together. All chicks wanted to be with the bead man. Sorry. And you know where I was? I was like this here. The bead man got all that ass. Oh, he was something. D.
Yeah, I know that.
There were times when I thought I'd never make enough. And the times where they taught me to play rough. And there's places that I've been I'd never go back to. 'Cause there's things that I've done I never own up to. How about you? Don't answer that. Now there's songs that I sung should have never been wrote. Times when I couldn't find the right notes, but I'd drive all day, then I'd sing all night too. 'Cause there ain't nothing in this world that I'd rather do. Playing in a rock and roll band, it's all I ever knowed. Being out on the road, it's just like being at home. And doing all those one night stands, but it sounds like fun to me, boy. I grew from a boy into a man, playing in a rock and roll band. Old guitars and amplifiers, like old friends who never let me down. And every new song that I write, it's our ticket out of town. Man, there's nights I'll be out there, sick as a dog. And that time in Buffalo, we drove through the fog, but we got where we was going, and we really put on a show. Yeah, I guess you could say we really stormed Buffalo. How about all the disappointments? Every time we've tried to climb up on that ladder, but it seems as though we slide right back to the bottom. All we have left is our pride. That just made us stronger, 'cause there's this burning inside. And playing in a rock and roll band, it's all I even know. Being out on the road, it's just like being at home. Doing all those one night stands, oh, that sounds like fun to me, boy. Sure do.
Was.
I grew from a boy into a man, playing in a rock and roll band. I grew from a boy to a man, playing in a rock and roll band. Come on, folks, let's give these guys a hand for playing in a rock and roll band. How you doing? Playing in a rock? I just get excited thinking about going back to work, getting out in the goddamn stage, strapping it on, looking out, seeing their faces, smoking, drinking, ass grabbing, and everything else. These are my people. You know what they need? They need someone to put their lives to music. You know who that someone is? This hunk of meat right here. Nipples T. Clown. How you like that playing in rock and roll, man? Can you sense, do you feel the Willie? Do you remember the old Willie album, Me and Paul? We received our education in the cities of the nation, me and Paul. Remember that song?
Yeah.
That right there was the particular inspiration, which I sucked the life out of that. I sucked the goodness out of that and tried to put it into rock and roll band. This is how it happened. Tell the children, write it down, etch it in stone so that in 2,000 years, some sons of bitches will say, you know, Norman, he was a big fan of Willie's. And it's true. You know, me and the old lady went to see Willie a couple, 2-3 times. And we saw him one time with John Anderson. You ever get into some John Anderson?
I've heard him. Yeah.
Oh, he had a song called I Wish I Could Have Been There. He had a song called I Wish I Could Have Been There. John Anderson. And what the song was, the first verse of the song talked about his son being the star of the Little League game. And he talks about how proud he was. And then he lets you know that he wasn't there. He was on the road working. The second verse is another scenario as the children grew older. And the last verse was about the children when he and his wife were celebrating an anniversary. The children couldn't come because they were grown up and now they had their lives. And the children say to him, hey, Dad, I wish I could have been there. Mm-hmm. That's how you write a song, goddammit. You hear? Don't make me. You guys are starting to make me cry. You know, I cry a lot. I used to be ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I don't give it. Hey, this song, I like to send it out to my friend who I haven't smelt in a good while, Larry Seifers. I just saw a video Larry was in playing with McKeag and his band. You know, you love Larry, right? He did a video with McKeag doing a song called American Dreamer. And it's a song about people coming to our country wanting to be Americans with all their heart. It's their, what's your goal? My goal is to become an American. And that's what the song is about. And it's so hip. And Larry, or McKeag's band, the Aces, plays it. And when Larry ain't hanging out with us or making money somewhere, shut up. He goes and plays with those guys. And McKeag is very gracious. And you know what McKeag, let me tell you how gracious McKeag is. McKeag filmed this video of the band playing live. They gathered it together in a Pandini, which is hard to do. I wouldn't even try to pull that shit off. But they put it together. And McKeag is so gracious. It's such a good person that I don't think he minded that Larry played his goddamn flute. You know, he could have played sax. And when he plays sax, let me tell you this. When Larry plays sax, you know what he does? He pours pain all over the floor. And you can feel the pain that he has when he plays sax. When he plays flute, you know what it does? It makes me want to get up on my tiptoes and go, oh. But McKeag let him play flute on it. Now, I wonder if Larry appreciates it as much as he should. Before we play the song, I want to, going back to farts, which should be the theme of today's show. I want to tell you one thing I love about Glenn Pavone. Glenn Pavone was quoted often as saying this: I don't want to hang out with anybody that doesn't think farts are funny. And that right there, that statement is so profound. It tells you so much about that particular guy that said it. That was his call to arms. I don't want to hang out with it. If you ain't playing in my band, you ain't getting in the truck. Glenn was also, he said to me one day, he goes like this, he says, I'm a connoisseur of fine Subaru station wagons. And he was serious. And I was just like, how much do I love this gentleman? He was a connoisseur of fine Subaru station wagons. If I had a Subaru, you know what I'd call it? Roo. Get over here, Roo. I want to take you for a ride. Hey, let's whip into the have-nots and send it out to some sons of bitches that haven't been able to work, ain't got no money in their pocket. We're not sending this out to the have-gots. We're sending it out to the have-nots. The have-gots, you know what? You don't need my sympathies. You don't need my attention. You got what you got. But you sons of bitches got nothing. I feel you. I want to hang with you. I want to wallow in your pain with you. Because that's when I'm happiest. When I'm touching some folks that need to be touched. And I'm not trying to get weird with you.
Don't look at me, man.
Check it out. It's a thing called the have-nots. It's in the key of 80th.
I see. That's a Greek.
You know my friend George the Greek?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever met George the Greek. George the Greek is a drummer, one of the most sweetest, gentlest,
Is that?
wonderful person. One time, and he's Greek. And right before we were going to Europe together. And when we were going to Europe, I guess his father wanted to meet me. And so he dropped George off at my shack right across the tracks there we were living at the time. And it was the first time I ever saw him with a clean face. He always had like a George Michael beard. Remember George Michael invented the close crop beard? What a thing, right? That shit caught on. But anyway, George always had like a rough close crop beard. And this time when he showed up with his father, he had his face shaved clean. And the first thing I looked at him when his father was standing right beside him. I says, Christ, George. I says, I hardly even recognize you. I says, you look like an ugly broad. And this old man looked at me like, this is the guy you're going to Europe with. I don't like him already. Some guys got it. Some guys never will. Some guys square a nickel, some make it rain. $50 bills, and that's the way that it is. It's a little or a lot, and you all got the hairs, and you got the have-nots. Some guys are born with a silver spoon, some born to stand in a welfare line. Some guys are sipping Dom Perignon, and some are slurping country moonshine, and that's the way that it is. It's a little or a lot, and you all got the hairs, and you got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots. Crowded at the bottom, lonely at the top. You got the haves, and you got the have-nots. There's a guy in a jet airliner slipping down to the Gulf Coast show. Another guy slumping in the back of a jitney on his way to the liquor store. And that's the way that it is. It's a little overlap. And you all got the hairs. And you got the have-nots. Y'all might have a million. You all might be down on your luck. Might have showed up here tonight in a Cadillac or a broke down pickup truck, and that's the way that it is. It's a little overlap, and you all got the hairs, and you got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots, crowded at the bottom, lonely at the top. You got the haves, and you got the have-nots. Crowded at the bottom, lonely at the top. You got the haves, got the haves, got the haves, and you got the have-nots. Hey, well. Harry on bass, Tom on his fabulous organ the size of a harmonica. Thank you, Tom. The have-nots. In honor of our dear friend Larry Seifers, who we haven't been able to touch. You know where he is right now? He's sitting at a coffee shop in Shadyside. I'm sure of it.
Probably.
Because that's where... Where's Larry? He's at a coffee shop in Shadyside. Call him. He'll pick up. He's done... Well, you know, he's down there reading the goddamn newspaper from New York or something. Reading the Times. Larry's very much a more intelligent cat than... I'm used to hanging out with. I'm used to hanging out with guys that are more like me. That are good for two things. Rocking and nothing. It felt pretty good, didn't it? We're going to come back and we're going to play another number. I'm going to switch guitars. Before we do, I'm going to talk about fathers and sons. Just for a second. Now, when I was a little kid, I told you, my mom raised us. My father was around on Sundays. And what we would do, my mother would make a beautiful Italian dinner every Sunday. That's with that. Spaghetti. My dad would say macaronis and meatballs. That's what we had. And or sometimes we'd have some bourgeois. My mother always made a beautiful salad. I put it like this. One of the first times I went to New York with my buddies, and we were at a restaurant, and I said, I'll take a salad. And they says, well, what kind of dressing do you want? And I says, what do you mean? He says, well, what kind of dressing would you like for your salad? I says, there's more than one kind of dressing? Well, she you like French or Russian or... I'm like, what the hell? I says, vinegar and oils. I didn't know there was other kind of dressings. That shit wasn't in our house. What was that put in our refrigerator? You know, French dressing, Russian dressing. Now they have ranch dressing. What the hell's that shit? What is ranch dressing? Anybody here know? Me neither. I ain't eating that shit. Vinegar and oil, that's salad dressing. That's it. Case closed. I told you I'm a minimalist. I don't want no options. I want one spoon in the drawer, one glass in the closet, one cup, one effing plate. That's how I like to live.
One egg to fry.
One. I want one frying pan, one pot. I want to open my closet. But I am a little bit like Moondog's father. And I do like my silken undershorts. And I think I've mentioned this. Every show we've ever done, I think is this our 26th? This is our 26th show together.
Yeah.
Never once have I showed up here in a cotton short.
Me neither.
Well, Harry, Last time he wore underwear, I think, was in '68. Except remember that time you went to the doctor?
Oh, I can't remember what the doctor, yeah.
Yeah, he wore silken underwear because my old lady gave him a pair of that shit. He wore it to the doctor. He was all proud of himself, pulled his pants down like, look at him. What do you think of this guy? But I like a silken short. But I don't do it every day because, you know, I don't want to spoil my rocks.
Like spoiled rocks.
Spoil, you know, rocks that are spoiled. But I got lost, and I wanted to talk about. I just mentioned that when we were sit at these Sunday dinners with my family, my father would always make a point of farting at the table, and then he would just. And my father would always just give a big smile, and my mother would always give a scowl. And it was like the yin and the yang of life, of how people are. You know, how our bodies are built and how our emotion systems are built. And how cool it was. And that was like evidence of the yin and the yang. You know, as a kid that's growing up kind of needs that evidence because he's going to need it later in life as he becomes a man. And just a couple years ago, my old lady went to hang out with her brother in Chicago. And him and his wife have twins. I'm telling you, the best looking kids. Well, you know, my nieces have some good looking kids too. But they're twins, a boy and a girl, Liam and Hope. And my old lady said, Joni, Dan's wife, her brother, made a beautiful dinner for them all to sit and eat the dinner. And it says they're sitting at the dinner table. Liam, who was probably, I guess, about 8 or 9 at the time, farted. And as soon as he farted, he looked across the table at his father and he said, "I ripped one, Daddy." And my old lady was like, "I knew I had to tell you that. I knew how much you'd love that little thought." And he said, I says, "What'd Dan do?" He says, he just sat there and smiled and looked at me and nodded his head like, "I'm raising this kid right." He said, "I ripped one, Daddy," real proud. I love that. Hey, we're going to do a song that I've written a couple times. And I've written it a couple times because it's been very important to me to write. Because it's the story of my parents. Everybody seems cold. You know, there's a thermostat in there. Rochelle, if you want to run in, there's a thermostat right on the inside of the...
I'll go.
You know where it is, Tom? Yeah, turn that up. What the hell was I talking about? I'm lost.
Farts at dinner.
Oh, no, I was talking about writing the song for my farting at dinner. Somebody was listening. No, this is a song written for my parents because this song is the story of their lives. Art and Nori. Art, born in 1920. Where was he born? I've told you. On the kitchen table. Precious child. My mother, Eleanor, born in 1925. 20 for my father, my mother 25. And they both lived to be 87 years old. How fantastic is that, right? Very different people, but very much, if you look at me, and not just the nutbag that you see on camera here today, but me 24 hours a day, you'd realize that he's exactly half of his father and exactly half of his mother. The way I act, the way I think, that's who I turned out to be. I'm a halfie. I'm half each. And this is a song that I wrote for them. Harry's going to play it with me. We went over it, and I hope it comes up pretty well. But it's called Dance a Little Closer to Me. And it speaks of the night my parents met and where they would get together. They would get together at Kennywood Danceland in the 1940s. Big bands would be playing. They'd be coming in from all over the country to play at Danceland. And all the Italians, would take the bus in a streetcar from Homewood Rushton, from Swissville here. And they'd all go to Kennywood on Saturday night for the big dance, Kennywood dance time. And that's where my mother and father met. The second verse is about the night they married. And the last verse is about all of us kids being gone and them there together. And it's called Dance a Little Closer to Me. And you know who likes this song? I have a Dago gentleman friend named Nick. Very nice person. He's not like me. And he always, you know, when I first brought this song out of the box, he gave me a smile and was like, yeah, I like that. I like that shit. And you know why I think he likes it? Because he's a softie. He's a gentle soul. Like me. I don't seem like a gentle soul, but I am.
Well, anybody can walk a small dog. Yeah.
Harry had to get that in.
No, I did.
He had to get that line in. And then I have to say, hey, it takes a big man to walk a small dog.
I have 2 Yorkies, so I'm with you.
I remember Sasha.
Sasha was not one of them.
Sasha was the black,
Yeah.
small black dog.
Yeah, she was.
Talia.
Talia was the smallest one with the attitude.
How about Harry Bottoms?
Big ears. He could have been. You got to watch him in the wind because he would have taken off. He's got big ears, like Dumbo.
A lot of Chihuahuas have big ears. My Chihuahua doesn't because my Chihuahua, like me, is a halfie. My Chihuahua is half Chihuahua and half Min Pin. So that bitch is crazy on both sides. And before she came to us, she was not happy. She was unsettled. She was a problem. But me and the old lady took her into the home. You know what we did? We loved that little bitch up. We loved her so hard. And now she's becoming more normal and accepting. She can... Oh, sorry. Excuse me. She could tolerate a bicycle going past now. She can tolerate... My Chihuahua hates school buses. Like... like to send us out to the memory of Art and Noreen.
Yes. Right.
And my sister, Anne Marie. And her wonderful husband, JP.
JP.
My sister is about this tall. Her husband is about this tall.
K2.
And you know, when you're a guy and you have a sister, you worry about these guys your sister's running around with. My sister is so loved, I have no worries. If I was gone tomorrow, I would never have to worry about my sister being taken care of because the guy she's married to loves her with everything he has. Very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
I do a little intro to this.
Mm-hmm.
We come in on the 4 chord,
Mm-hmm.
and it's played to a little Latin beat.
Right.
And right now, if I had a dried up pickle, you know that instrument? You know the dried up pickle? Maybe I do have a dried up pickle. Wait a minute! All right!
Party's getting dirty. I'm going to take my pants and go home.
The dried up pickle is the, you know what I mean, Tom?
Yeah,
Quave. Is that what they call it?
something like that. Riro,
What'd you call me?
the fish. Yeah.
And it goes like this here. And you take a stick and you run it across it. It's a killer instrument. And that's what I imagine playing it. If I didn't have to sing it and play guitar on it, I'd want to play the dried up pickle on it. So the reason I call it a dried up pickle is because me and the Bead Man used to call it that years ago. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I can hear the music play. All the people start to sway. Deep inside, I feel an urge to hold you close to me. All the magic of the dance land nights. You in my arms just feel so right. Jitterbugging the night away. And then you hear me gently say, dance a little closer to me. when we move into harmony, all the world starts to glow. So dance a little closer to me. To the floor. The sound of laughter fills the air. Friends and family gather there. I look around a crowded room, and you're the only one I see. And now our words we say tonight are gonna stand the test of time. Together when we're old and gray, but when we hear those wedding bells play, dance a little closer to me when we move into harmony. All the world starts to glow, so dance a little closer to me. We danced when the rain was falling, danced when the blues came calling, closer and closer yet, and we ain't through dancing yet. All the children grown and gone, now you and I, we're not alone. And looking back through all these years, you're still the only one I see. And now I know it must have been a sight on that magic dance land night. Giving the dinner play, I still hear the music play. Dance a little closer to me when we move into harmony. All the world starts to glow, so dance a little closer to me. Dance a little closer to me. We're the rhythm and we are the melody. High and low, fast and slow, so dance a little closer. Dance a little closer. Dance a little closer to me. Art and Nori. Couple of beautiful folks. Send it out to Nick. That old greaseball. He's a gentleman. Not like me. I ain't no goddamn good. I want to thank all you hunters for tuning in with us today.
Half an hour remaining.
Oh, okay. We got a half hour to love. To be together. To share precious moments. And I think I mentioned Mooney's show is tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. I'll get a chance to watch tomorrow. You know, they're using a couple videos. I mean, it's virtual, so everybody's using videos. But all the entertainers made a special video just to speak for a minute. Cheryl asked me to speak for about 10 seconds. I said, yeah, right. I said, it takes me 10 seconds to say my name. So I guess I cheated. And I overstayed my welcome. But I asked her after I sent it to her, I says, well, Tom sent it to her. And I said to her, did that work out for you, Cheryl? Is that okay? She goes, it's very Nardini-ish. I'm like, what do you expect? And we got a laugh out of that. Man, I'm glad to be here today. God damn it. I don't know.
It's story time.
No. I don't have a strap on this guitar, so I sit when I play it. When you're with Norman, it's always story time. You know, I found out there's... I'm not the only entertainer that can't shut up. There's a few of us. My buddy told me about one. In fact, one of my favorite artists in the world. He told me he went to see him play, and then ended up going backstage and hanging out with him. And I said, what's he like as a guy? He says, Jesus Christ, he's worse than you. He said, that son of a bitch don't ever shut up.
Watched a documentary about Steve Marriott, and that was the first thing everybody said about him.
He never
He
shut
was
up.
not fun to be around because he would never shut up. He was always up to some act or some bit or whatever.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's Dealey told me about this singer whose name I don't want to mention because I
Yes.
have so much respect for him. But Marriott, man, what a talent! And I don't know. A lot of people don't know this, but Marriott, when he was a little kid, was a child stage star in England. And
Yeah.
and stage, especially back then in England, was big. It was like that's where they carried the cross for productions, and he was like the cat, but he was like 5 and 6 years old. He was on stage starring in these giant with adult stars, and then he grew up to be a rock and roller and a maniac of a guy, and one of the most rock and roll cats that ever strapped on a hunk of wood. That little son of a bitch is about this tall. I seen him hanging out in the streets of New York City back in the 70s when we was there. We was recording at the record plant. You know the record plant? It's where John Lennon hung out at.
Right, yeah.
We did a record there, and whole album. And we would go out and hang on the streets. The New York City in the goddamn 70s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have no idea how hip it was to be there.
Yeah, it was. That's right.
It was before shit changed and everybody they tightened everything up. It was like when it was all there. You were on a street. You go to New York City. You were there for 7 days. You maybe slept maybe 6 hours in 7 days. There was no reason to sleep.
Never.
I have a buddy that likes to tell me stories about New York City strip clubs in the 60s and 70s. How fantastic. I don't want to play the song because I'm thinking about him being in a strip club in the 70s. I mean, and when I say 70s, I mean like 70 that year.
Not his age. Not his age.
What's that?
Not his age. In the
No,
70s.
he was in his teens,
That's
you know,
what I said.
and he was just ripe. You know, when a guy's like 18 or 19, 20 years old, I don't even want to tell you what it's like to be a guy and be that age. It is just not easy to do.
Remember.
You remember it. You don't want to remember it. My life didn't really start until I got into my 20s. You know, and I was so confused and so full of... I had no outlet for who I needed to be. I hadn't found myself. I knew I wasn't like them. And when I say them, I mean every other hunter walking this. I knew I wasn't... I knew I couldn't be a part of it. And I made it... and I wanted everyone to know I wasn't like them. I didn't know what I was, but I knew I wasn't like them. I'd like to send this out to anyone here tonight that knows a woman like the woman in this song. It's a song called She Crazy. The same kind of crazy as me. It's in the key of G-licious. When I said that, I sounded like Richard Simmons, didn't I? G-licious. Oh, this is the best story. This is so fantastic. Just a second. It'll take a second.
Oh, it's okay.
When it was Christmas this year, I wanted to get... I saw, Chia Pets. I saw they had an advertisement for the Chia Pets for Christmas this year. And they had Bob Ross, who my old lady's a fan of, and they had Richard Simmons were new Chia Pets. So I went to the drugstore and I looked in the Chia Pet section and I didn't see Richard because that's who I wanted to get. And but I saw Bob Ross. So I got Bob Ross. So she's a big fan of his. So I got her, and I'm in the checkout line. There's two cash registers, and I said, as I'm handing him my Bob Ross to check me out, I says, hey, I looked in the section. I was looking for a Richard Simmons, and I didn't see one. And the young guy behind the counter says, who's Richard Simmons? And before I could say anything, the guy standing next in the cashier next to me, he goes, some weirdo. The guy, he was, I just looked at him like this, and he looked at me like he was disgusted by it. I was like, What the hell? And he was like judging me and my choice of chia pets. Like, dude, give me a guy. I'll give you a slap right on your shit can. She don't like nobody. You can't tell her a thing. The leaves are changing colors. She'll tell you that it's spring. She crazy. Tell you 1 and 1 is 3. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. She don't get along with her sister. Don't talk to her brother no more. Her ex got a PFA on her. She fought with the neighbors next door. She crazy. Like a monkey in a tray. Well, she crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Well, she crazy. Certified crazy. Gotti wow. Crazy. She out of control. Crazy. That bitch still on parole. Well, she crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Sometimes we fight with each other. You can hear us all over town. When we make up in the bedroom, I'm picking up what she putting down. She crazy. She makes love passionately. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Sing it with me. She crazy, wild as a loon, crazy, mind like the spoon. She crazy, last time I was in jail, crazy, she won't pay my bill. She crazy as can be, the same kind of crazy as me. Crazy well. The first time I played that, my sister was in the audience at the Starlight, and she was like, "That's me, that's me, that's." Yep, it was. That's Pan Annie. That's my sister. That's what they call her. She's a legend. She's a living legend. I don't know. When we was kids, we was nuts. I'm going to tell you this real quick. I think it was 1968, something like that. The Beatles put out a record called The White Album. It's a legendary record. They Say You Want a Revolution's on there. They Say It's Your Birthday. All those numbers. And when that album came out, excuse me, me and the Bead Man, who was my best friend, and me and the Bead Man, you know how we was? Like this. When we met, I felt someone that felt me. And I started becoming a guy in my relationship with him. When we met, I was 16 when we started working together. When we met, I had a shaved head and one eyebrow shaved off. That's no bullshit. And I walked up to them and said, they were looking for a keyboard player in their band. I says, "Hey, I play organ a little bit." And I says, "I'd like to audition." He looked at me like, and meanwhile, B-Man was real. B-Man looked exactly like Brian Jones.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Chicks wasn't no problem for the bead man. He'd walk in a room, bitches be like, "Who that?" and I'm hanging out with him. I'm a couple years older than him, and you know what? They didn't look at me twice. They was all over that. He was always woofing on my bitches too. You know, and that's, you know, so every time I'm watching Jerry Springer and I think of and all the situations that goes on with people and the inter weirdness of it all, I always think back and I go, wait a minute, I'm laughing at these people. I says, that's, I don't know. I'll shut up. But anyway, when the White Beatles album come out, it was me and Bede, like I said, we were so tight. So what we did, we bought the album like on a Tuesday right here in Swissville at the record hut. Ernie Cashar's joint with Zimp was behind the counter. Very cool guy. We bought the album. We didn't open the album when we bought it. We didn't listen to it. We waited till Friday night. I think I walked from my house in Wilkins Township to Swissville to Beadman's house. And we were going to listen to the album together. And our friend Moon, not Moondog, but another friend of mine named Moon, who we named the band after, by the way. Me, Moon, and the Bead Man, we all took a hit of acid. And we waited till we started getting off. The Bead Man had a bedroom in the basement, and his mother would leave us alone. She was a glorious lady. Very wonderful woman. We all did our hit of acid, and we waited for, we started getting off. And as soon as we started getting off, we shut off all the lights. We laid down on the floor, and we put on the record. And we didn't speak one word until all four sides of that record played. We didn't talk. You know how like when you played records, you know, the side went in, then you have to pick up the thing and then swip it. We didn't speak. We were just like, and then after that, we stayed up all night and talked about what we heard. And we would pick out a song here or there to go over, to reaffirm what we thought we heard, and spent all night just deliciously drinking in with these English guys was putting on the table. And like that's the way we listened together. That's how our music was to us. The music to us wasn't something that just came and went. And I'll say it like this: music that we listened to wasn't disposable. It wasn't something we disposed of. It wasn't something that lost its importance when the next record come out. It was something that we built upon. You know, I remember Traffic's first album, and then Traffic's second album were other records that we had this same ceremony to, where we'd shut off all the lights, lay on the floor. I remember one time after we listened, I forget what album we were listening to, but after we were all done, Moon, our friend Moon, who was our roadie, he drank, I think it was not a quart of milk, a gallon of milk. He drank a gallon of milk in like a 5-minute period. He drank the whole thing, and then we spent the next hour listening to his stomach, and he would he would shake his stomach around. I mean, me and the B-man would be on one knee. We'd put our heads up to his gut if we could hear the milk in his gut as he was shaking it around. That's who we were. And this same guy, Moon, who's still alive and is a fantastic person. We never thought he'd still be alive. Like my friend Dealey, Moon. Right around the same time, probably a year or two earlier, like 1967. We were like some of the early freaks in town. In other words, we were the first guys to grow our hair long and start wearing weird clothes. And we were turning the regular people on to what we thought was important music. We didn't write music then. I mean, guys, we wrote some shit, you know, in '68 and all that. But we weren't writers. But we were turning the locals and the people we played for gigs, we turned them on to what we thought was the important music. And we used to do these fraternity parties. And like And the fraternity parties were all in the city. So in the city, having long hair and wearing weird clothes was okay. And it even meant you might get a shot at meeting somebody that found you to be attractive. Where out in the suburbs, there was no way you were getting any of this. There was no shot of it because the girls out there weren't ready for that. They were looking for the guy with the collared sweater, and you could tell he was going to Harvard. But the girls in the city, they might be so weird that they'd see something like me and go, I'd take a shot at that. You know what I mean? So Moon, whose parents didn't allow him to grow his hair long, or they bought him like weird glasses, like straight people glasses. And what he did, he went out on his own and he bought himself a pair of round glasses like John Lennon used to wear. And then this one night we were playing this fraternity party. He bought a long hair wig and he put it on. So he thought he could maybe meet a city girl that would think of him as like a rock and roll guy like the rest of the guys that he was hanging out with. He didn't feel like he could hang with us because he wasn't allowed to dress and present himself in this new way. So he's wearing this long hair wig and he's getting drunk and he meets this girl. And she's drunk and she's interested in him. And they're starting to commiserate and starting to hold, talk and, standing together and holding hands and shit like this. And meanwhile, this girl had a boyfriend who wasn't there. And this boyfriend shows up and sees her commiserating with my friend Moon. And he wants to beat the hell out of Moon. So he comes up to him and confronts him. And this guy was older, bigger, and, And so Moon runs away. He just starts, we're in the basement of a fraternity house, and there's all kind of people, and everybody's drunk and beer all over the place. Moon runs through all the people, and he runs up the stairs. And this guy chases him. And he couldn't get real close to him because there were too many people, you know what I mean? And it just happened real fast. And so as soon as Moon gets upstairs, he takes off the long-haired wig. And now this guy doesn't recognize him. And he thinks he can, come back and he's under the radar. But what happens is he's so drunk that he can't blend in. And so what we did to keep him from getting in more trouble or getting us in trouble, we took him, I had a panel truck at the time. I'm so old that my first car was a panel truck. My first van was a panel truck. We threw him into the panel truck and we took a hose and we wrapped it around all the doors so that he couldn't get out. And we hoped he'd fall asleep in the truck before he got his ass
Sounds like
beat.
a bad movie.
Before he got his ass beat and our asses beat as well. Give me a kiss! Let's play a little bit. You hunters.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, really.
And you don't remember being 19? You didn't do shit
I
like that?
didn't.
I know you did.
Plenty.
Don't fuck. What do we got? Oh, let's do this. Play a song I wrote for my old lady. I wrote it a couple times. And I wrote it and played it for a while and then dropped it. And then rewrote it about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it's a nice hunk of meat. It's called The Man Who Loves You. Harry Bottoms is going to join with me now.
Ooh, kidookie.
And we're going to send this out. This thing called The Man Who Loves You. Send it out to My Hillbilly Queen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't say the things I wish I would say. Don't have the wings to carry you away. I don't make that much, and I'm not big and strong. With the times I'm out of touch, but most things I'm wrong. But deep in my heart, there's a song that rings true, and I'll always be the man who loves you. I know I've tried to be like I should. I've got this wild side I'd change if I could. I've chased down my dreams and gone up in flames. Then the smoke cleared and you remain. Deep in my heart, there's a song that rings true. I'll always be the man who loves you. Gonna be chiseled in stone, your name and mine, strong enough to stand the test of time. This love in my heart, like an ember it glows, like a fire it burns, like a river it flows, so deep and so wide, honest and true, so proud to be the man who loves you. I'll always be the man who loves you. Hey. Shit. Always be the man who loves you. You know, when we're playing live, I always do a little routine. And I always talk about the introduction to the song that goes like this. when I wrote that, I thought it should sound like what they play when a queen comes into the room. And it should be played on French horns. But then I thought, if I write this, I'll never be able to afford French horns to record it. Or I'll never be able to afford for French whores either. So that's all I got, right? What is it, Tom? Oh, we're down. We're
4 minutes.
We're clocking down here. Hey, I want to thank Harry for being Harry. I want to thank Tom for being Tom. I want to thank Rochelle for working with us and helping us to
Be flamboyant.
look better. to having the support of someone who understands things that
Yes.
none of us, the rest of us, don't. I mean, we all got things we offer. And then we all
But
got
that
things,
ain't one of 'em.
and then,
For us.
and as a man, and put it like, as an adult, sometimes what you do is you say, if you try to be everything and know everything and have the answers for everything, I don't care who you are. I got a friend whose father worked on creating the atom bomb. But if you talk to him, you would think this guy, he didn't seem like a guy that was comfortable even talking to his own family. You know, he had things that he knew and things that he was great at. He was brilliant. But there was other things, you know, getting an ice cream cone wasn't something that was easy for him. You know, everybody has limitations. And when the first thing that you should do when you start developing into an adult is accepting that, embracing it. It's okay. Nobody knows everything.
That's what.
But it's nice to be around people that do.
That's
You feel me
Clint
now?
Eastwood- Clint Eastwood. Man's got to know his limitations.
Harry, come over here and say it into the camera.
Oh.
Harry's going to give you his best Clint Eastwood.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Thank you, H. How about that, Hunter, right? He's been with me a long time. Did I ever tell you about the time he pissed in the closet in the hotel in Cleveland?
yeah.
All right, I'm not going to tell you again. All right, let's...
Wait, you see what I do?
Wait a minute, that's the greatest story, though. I don't know if... Let's do Over Said and Done. Tom's going to play his best Augie Myers. And if Augie's still with us. And I had an Augie Myers album. I didn't have the real one. Somebody made a copy of it. And I used to play it all the time when I'd clean the studio. And it was just so happy. And he would play that Billy Swan song. I forget the name of it right now. But let's do it. This is my mom's favorite Norman song. It's called Over Said and Done. And every time I do it, I think of Eleanor. Nori D, that's what they called her when she was a young jitterbug girl. Could you picture my mom, 90 pounds of Italian dynamite, about 18 years old, kicking man's asses? She didn't take shit from nobody. She was tough as nails. How you doing? Have I been wasting my time doing the things that I love? You say you only live once, but that's enough. If you do all the things you wanna do, you are the one. When it's over, said and done. Well, I made up my mind, take my time and be strong. They say it only gets better, but better than what? Then you realize your fantasies have just begun. When it's over, said and done. When it's over, I know I'll be standing. When it's over, and it's done. when it's over, I know I'll be standing when it's over and it's done. A little older now, but still having fun. And there ain't much changed since I first begun. Now I wouldn't trade a single day for 1,000,001. When it's over, said and done. When it's over, said and done. When it's over, said and done. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to pose everyone in our audience down. When I used to come home from gigs, ESPN, the only thing they would have on would be bodybuilders. And they'd stand at each end of the stage and go like this. Or like this is a good move. And you could see every ripple in their back muscles. And they'd look at each other with mean looks on their face. Tom, are we done?
We're done.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.